Hello, my name's Andy and I'm a compulsive gambler. Last bet 14th of April 2007. Today I'm in Sheffield meeting Kieran, a fellow compulsive gambler, so I'm just going to introduce you to Kieran.
Yeah, I'm Kieran, I'm a compulsive gambler. My last bet was 27th of December 2018.
Brilliant. And what he's going to do for us today, he's going to share his story, and I'm just going to ask one or two little questions as well, nothing probing or anything like that. And I'm just going to let him have the camera basically. So Kieran, feel free to share your story. Be brutal as honest as you can, mate.
Yeah, gambling's always been a part of my life since I was probably about 7 or 8 years old, when I was getting stools in an arcade to climb on and reach bandits, so I could place money into them, and quite a lot of money at that age as well. And I used to, because we had family at coast who lived at seaside, I was always around arcades and gambling world in that respect. And yeah, I think that started me off. But then, as I've got older, I've always been into a little football bet, even before legal age, things like that. But then we started to, the day I turned 18, I was in bookies. And looking back, even when I remember being about 11 years old and someone gave me, money's irrelevant really, but somebody gave me £30 to go and have a night away at the seaside. And £30 to 11 year old, it's a lot of money. And I just remember being stood on the bandit all night while all the family were having a disco and a good time, and all I cared about is these flashing lights and losing my money basically. And that night I remember that sick feeling, which came back many years later, same but worse feeling. So already, even at 11 year old, I was getting that sick feeling when you've lost, and that anger and that disappointment with yourself. But yeah, as I say, it progressed, and I sort of got to the stage then where I were not like thinking about it constantly, but as years went on, towards my 18th birthday, I noticed my arcades got worse, especially at 18 when I could go in bookies. I used to get paid weekly, and common thing really with compulsive gamblers, I was doing my weekly waging on a very regular basis, leaving us with nothing. From that sort of bookmakers gambling, it lasted a few years, and then I sort of always knew there were online gambling, but I was scared of it, because I thought, in bookies, it's actually going out, it's going somewhere, and it's sort of like an occasion in my weird warped way of thinking. I'm going out to bookies, I'm going to go in there, turn my phone off and be at one with the machine, and come out sick as a dog and wanting to drive car into trees and things like that. But yeah, I did eventually brave the world of online gambling, and it makes it sound wonderful, but it's honestly not. And eventually that became even worse than bookies, and I've been to Gamblers Anonymous. 2010, when I was 18, I went to Gamblers Anonymous for the first time. I was never ashamed, well, that's the wrong word. I was ashamed that I'd got a problem, but I was never closed to getting help or what people might think of me because I go to GA. I've just been lucky in that respect. I did manage to do a 10-month stint straight away. I did go back gambling, but then I sort of carried on that gambling instead of going back to GA and thinking, right, 10 months I'll start again. I sort of carried on my gambling, and I remember in 2013, so 3 years later, I was stood at a machine one night in a motorway services, because I'm a lorry driver, so I was parked there for the night, and I just remember being stood on this machine all night inside the services, and eventually I lost my money. and I smashed up the machine. And I remember on the back of that, someone coming in, a member of staff saying, "Have you any idea who's done that?" And I said no, because all I was focused on is what I'd lost, not that someone's just had a machine smashed up by me. But anyway, I thought, I'm going to end up in prison here. That's not what... The last thing I want is prison, but obviously I'm in a mess anyway because I'm gambling my head off. But yeah, I just thought, I've got to stop this. And on the back of that day, I did 2.5 years with somehow just maybe 3 or 4 GA meetings in that 2.5 years. I went and got my date, and I sort of, because of work dictated a lot of that, or working away a lot during weeks, so I couldn't always get to a GA meeting, but I did 2.5 years, and then things took a turn in my life in 2015. Call it delayed grief, call it whatever you want, maybe just excuse, to be honest, but something, I started to suffer with anxiety and depression and things, and ultimately I think I just chose gambling as a way out, as an escape, again, and yeah, on back of that, I sort of took a loan and blew that straight away. It's as though, I mean, people say, you know, I've been coming a while now, if I did go back I wouldn't be as bad. Let me tell you, if you do stop for a while and you go back, my experience and what I've seen many times is people who do go back tend to be a lot worse than what they were, at least as bad as what they were before, if not worse. I certainly were. From 2015 until now, 7 months ago, I've just been horrendous. It's cost me, well, it almost cost me my marriage to my wife. It's made us homeless. Always the one to say to my wife, yep, we'll be fine with money, I'll sort something out, always hoping for a big win that never came. Well, even when it did came, the biggest part went back. And it's a case of, I caused my wife to have a mental breakdown where she ended up in a mental health place for 2 or 3 days because she'd just had enough. And she was suicidal, and that's awful for me to admit that I caused that. And I caused her to stop talking to her father because basically I'd, unfortunately, in an indirect way, seen that if I spent our money, then we'd have a backup. And I didn't mean for that, but that's what effectively I was doing. We lost this flat where we live, this first home together, and basically, whilst my wife was in the mental health recovery, I was sleeping rough in the car, drinking heavily, so that come into it then, very suicidal, and yeah, we eventually, you know, someone took us in, one of his friends, and can never be grateful enough for that, with unbelievable gesture. And they took us in for 3 months, and in that 3 months I was still gambling my head off. Because in a weird way you think, this has happened to you, stop. But in a weird way I thought, we're at rock bottom, in my warped way of thinking, gambling mode. I need a big win, that's the only thing that's going to change the position we're in, where we've got no home, just a sofa, no car, things like that. So I carried on gambling. They eventually, you know, they had to have their house back. We were just a mess. And yeah, we eventually got put in a place by the council. In that place I carried on gambling. My mental health was deteriorating rapidly, and as much as you know, it sort of were a roof over his head. Circumstances that I'd caused were just horrendous. We didn't have anything. When I worked, all I thought about is, I'm going to turn my wages into the massive win that will relieve everything. It doesn't. And eventually, on the end of September 2018, I gambled a week's wage overnight because I was working, and my wife was stressing out, the money's not gone in, the money. I said, oh yeah, it'll just be a delay, it'll be in the morning. Rubbish. I'd gambled it, and not only had I gambled it, I'd once again self-harmed, but this time I'd lost everything and I took an overdose. That's at that very point in time, I didn't want to cause pain to anyone else anymore. I couldn't see any light at the end of the tunnel. I couldn't see that I'm going to stop, and I just didn't want to cause my wife and family and my wife's family and friends. I didn't want to cause anyone any pain anymore, and that's the way I felt. And by me being gone, it's hard at first for them, whatever. But let me tell you this: the moment those tablets, the very second those tablets went down my neck, and I know I'm going into detail, but I feel it's relevant. The very second it was too late, I regretted it instantly. I regretted that decision, and when the ambulance came and everything, and eventually later on I was talking to the medical people, I said that, and they said, yeah, that's very, very common in suicide attempts. The people who unfortunately find themselves in that position, they regret the decision instantly. Sometimes, unfortunately, it's too late, but in my case, I'd not done any research on suicide, how many tablets it would be enough. I just took the amount that I'd got on me, and fortunately it wasn't enough. But yeah, we're at a stage now where even after that, a few weeks later, I went back gambling. I lost my driving licence, which is my livelihood, because I'd been speeding too many times. And it's easy to say that's because I was gambling, but literally, I've no doubt in my mind at times my head will have been that messed up out concentrating on road. I'm ashamed to say it wouldn't have been top of my priorities. I'd have just been autopilot, and I've been caught speeding. I lost my driving licence, I lost my livelihood, and that turned me back into gambling again. Once again, this will help, but it done, and a lot of self-harming and back to suicide thoughts later. I eventually did a month's money in again. By this time I'm on benefits because I've lost my licence. Did the month's money in, left us with nothing. My wife left me, went to live with her brother for a while, and at that stage suicide were on the cards again, even though I regretted it and I knew it wasn't the right course of action. But just out somewhere, I just sort of held in there, and I knew that this has got to happen, and I've got to stop. I knew, I've always known, but just felt that I'm going to do it this time. And on 27th of December, 2 days after Christmas, we went to a meeting. Something felt right about that meeting. I knew that this has got to be it, and yeah. I declared, I'd tell them what I'd done and things like that, and just over 7 months later, I'm gamble free. I've not had a bet. I still struggle with some parts of leaving the full gambling world behind. Some might say that's natural, some might say that's weird, but I don't gamble whatsoever, and if any friends or anything want to have a gamble, I don't, that's up to them. But I don't take part in any of that. I don't take part in the conversations about odds or anything like that. But yeah, it's, I suffer with dreams and things sometimes. But overall, I'm in a really good place with gambling, and I'm as far away, I've said to my wife not long ago, I'm as far away from a bet as I've ever been. That's how I feel. And that's a good position to be in, and one that I never thought would be something that I could feel all them years throughout my gambling life, and especially end of September last year. If you would have said to me, you're going to do 7 months, it's only 7 months, it's not a long time, but for me it's like 7 years. And so if you would have said to me, you're going to do 7 months, I'd have probably laughed at you. But yeah, that's sort of my story.
Thank you very much, Kieran. That was a very brave share. It was amazing to hear, and quite a lot of similarities to my own feelings as well, especially when you're saying 7 months feels like 7 years. I would have laughed at people who told me if I was 12 years clean, I would have barely made 12 days.
Yeah.
So, one question I want to ask, with GA meetings specifically, how do you feel that's helped you, GAing?
I mean, everyone, I suppose, has got, some people use GAM care, some people use other services, some people just do it off their own back. For me, personally, I believe without GA, I wouldn't have stopped. Yes, I've been going since 2010, so you might think it's took him, 9 years to grasp GA. In that period, I've not always attended due to being working away and things like that. But when I go there, it's a sense of safety for a start. I know that I'm going to get good advice if I've got a problem, not just gambling related. If I've been sat there and I've actually, been in a mess mentally, and the people there have not just offered advice, but ensured that I don't just say I'm going to get help, but get help. So it's not, and that can be gambling or that can not be gambling related. It's a safe place in a way, and it's something, people talk about sponsors and things. I've sort of got a sponsor, and I'm really thankful for that. But it's everyone. No one goes in there and thinks, certainly not in my meeting, and I can't imagine it being the case. I'll not listen to them because they've only done 3 months. Only whoever gives advice are doing it because they've been there. They want to help you, and they want to help themselves because they're there. And only a few weeks ago, I plucked up the courage to chair a meeting for the first time in all my GA, and that was something I would never ever thought I would do. But you might think, well, you chaired a meeting, someone's, hopefully got something from that. But I got something from that, and that's what I think GA is fantastic. It showed me that I've got confidence to chair a meeting in front of people. It showed other people that 7 months ago he was on his knees. Look at him now. And overall, you just got that fellowship, that safety, and also the date. Some people might feel strongly about it, more strongly than others. When you get that date, when you go, that becomes a barrier in itself. It does for me. That date, I've seen people with it tattooed on their arms. I'm not saying go to that extreme, obviously, but it is a barrier within itself, in my opinion. The advice you get about putting your barriers up, what barriers you need, the advice you get about being honest and becoming a better person in that respect. I couldn't do this without GA, and that's not just saying it, that is just my personal opinion.
Cool. How do you feel you've changed as a person?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's been 7 months. I've changed in respect that I'm a lot more honest now. I've changed in respect that I'm still selfish in other ways to an extent, but I'm not as selfish as I was when I was gambling. I've definitely changed in the respect that I've always, I'm not a nasty person. I'd always help people, but I'm more open to helping people now. So that's come from GA as well. And I believe that all round there's work to be done. Of course there is, but slowly I'm becoming a lot better person. If you look back, probably even a few months I've just improved in the last few months just on certain things. I still struggle with mental health issues and really bad anxiety and things, but overall I've become a better person.
Okay.
I would say.
Cool. Well, another question. If somebody, like you say, when you was gambling, like online or in the buckets and stuff, if anyone like probably made an intervention or something like that, would you have listened at the time?
I probably would have listened visually, but mentally, depending on the situation and the circumstances, and I don't think I would mentally. I think once I'm in that mode and at my worst, pretty much there's no stopping me.
Right, okay, no problem. What I will say now, I mean, I've done with the questions and stuff now, but what I will say now, mate, you're a very brave, very strong world, and you've got cracking support in your wife as well, and I think your wife's such a strong person as well. Obviously, no one understands what we've gone through within addiction and stuff and all that. Like, I don't see myself personally as a victim, but the victims are the people who love us as our wives and as our family, as our friends as well and stuff and all that lot. So I want to thank Kieran for sharing his story, for answering my questions, being brutally honest, telling the truth. And what we'll do now, we'll just sign off as we're doing a GA meeting, yeah? So my name's Andy and I'm a compulsive gambler. Last bet 14th of April 2007.
My name's Kieran, I'm a compulsive gambler. My last bet was 27th of December 2018.
Thank you, Kieran. I won't be around this Sunday live because I'm away on holiday, but next time will be the following Sunday. And if anybody else wants to jump on, like Kieran has done or Sean did on Sunday, be it live or on a pre-record, feel free. Thank you very much.
Take care.